Welcome to the Bible reading journey, where we are traveling from Genesis to Revelation. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're just joining us, welcome to the journey. Just jump in where we are because it's never too late to start, and we're so happy that you're traveling this road with us. Today we are on day number 119 of the Bible reading journey, and today's reading itinerary is the book of 2 Chronicles, chapters 29 through 32. You might want to pause here and first dive into today's reading for yourself. Then join us back here for thoughts about today's journey. Today's journey is titled Reform Under Hezekiah. The text notes contain an outline of the book of 2 Chronicles to guide us on our journey, and we are on section 3E of the outline, and we also have that section 4, which is a reference list of the kings of Judah. Well, today in chapter 29, we see reopening of the temple. Hezekiah inherits a mess from his father, King Ahaz. Yet, Hezekiah is described as he did what was pleasing in the Lord's sight. Chapter 29, verse 2. So what is the first thing Hezekiah does as king with this mess of a nation? Verse 3 tells us, in the very first month of the first year of his reign, Hezekiah reopened the doors of the temple of the Lord and repaired them. Next, he called the priests and Levites together for conviction and encouragement. Verse 11 tells us, he said, "My sons, do not neglect your duties any longer. The Lord has chosen you to stand in his presence, to minister to him, and to lead the people in worship and present offerings to him." Then they cleansed and purified the temple so they could offer sacrifices and worship the Lord with songs and instruments and psalms. In summary, verse 35, so the temple of the Lord was restored to service. Chapter 30. Re-establishing Passover. You read the details of preparations and celebrations of Passover in this chapter. Note the prayers of Hezekiah. And the Lord listened to Hezekiah's prayers and healed the people. Verse 20. Note the prayers of the priests and the Levites. And then verse 27 tells us God heard their prayer from his holy dwelling in heaven. In summary, verse 26, there was great joy in the city, for Jerusalem had not seen a celebration like this one since the days of Solomon, King David's son. Chapter 31, Reforms and Revival. Pagan idol worship was removed. People tithed generously. Offerings, worship, thanksgiving, and praise continued at the temple of the Lord. In summary, chapter 31, verses 20 through 21, King Hezekiah was doing what was pleasing and good in the sight of the Lord his God. In all that he did in the service of the temple of God and in his efforts to follow God's laws and commands, Hezekiah sought his God wholeheartedly. As a result, he was very successful. Chapter 32, Rescue from God. Assyria attacks Judah. Hezekiah prepares his military and his people, not just physically, but also emotionally and spiritually. Then we read in verses 6 through 8. Then Hezekiah encouraged them by saying, "Be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid or discouraged because of the king of Assyria or his mighty army, for there is a power far greater on our side. He may have a great army, but they are merely men. We have the Lord our God to help us and to fight our battles for us." Hezekiah's word greatly encouraged the people. In contrast, the words of the Assyrian king and his officials, this is from verses 16 through 19, mocked the Lord God and his servant Hezekiah, heaping insult upon insult, scorning the Lord, the God of Israel. These officers talked about the God of Jerusalem as though he were one of the pagan gods made by human hands. So what happened? Then King Hezekiah and the prophet Isaiah cried out in prayer to God in heaven. And the Lord sent an angel who destroyed the Assyrian army with all its commanders and officers. Hezekiah is a godly model of walking with the Lord. Yet, no one is perfect. At the end of today's reading, we see that he fell twice to the sin of pride. The first time we see in chapter 32, verse 26, Hezekiah humbled himself and repented of his pride. However, the second time, verse 31, God withdrew from Hezekiah in order to test him and to see what was really in his heart. Through all these good and bad kings, we can see the damage of pride and how it separates us from God. May we diligently guard ourselves from pride and humble ourselves before our God. Thought of the day. Be strong and courageous. Don't be afraid or discouraged because of fill in the blank. For there is a power far greater on our side. Fill in the blank. They are merely men. We have the Lord our God to help us and to fight our battles for us. Our challenge and that came from 2 Chronicles, chapter 32, verse 7 and 8. The challenge of the day, what is your fill in the blank from the thought of the day above? Put your personal battle in that blank and be encouraged as your ancestors were encouraged. Moses spoke similar words to the people of Israel in Deuteronomy 31:6 and to Joshua in Deuteronomy 31:7 through 8. The Lord God himself spoke it to Joshua in Joshua 1:6 through 9. And David spoke similar encouraging words to his son Solomon in 1 Chronicles 28:20. And in today's reading, Hezekiah's words greatly encouraged the people. Chapter 32, verse 8. May you be greatly encouraged today. And we will continue that with our memory review verses of the day, which we have had before, and we will review today. Deuteronomy 31:6, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid or terrified because of them, for the Lord your God goes with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. And Joshua 1:6, have I not commanded you? Be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid. Do not be discouraged, for the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. The text notes contain information on how to find us on YouTube, Facebook, and email. Happy travels today. See you next time. This is Lisa at Lighthouse. God bless.